Boss tells View enough already. Dagan, according to the Daily Beast, Disney and ABC execs have told The View to tone down their Trump bashing because they're constantly doing it. Should they, though? I mean, isn't this their brand now? They got nothing left. If you take that away, what do they have?
Nothing.
Greg Gutfeld just went full savage on The View after Disney's CEO threatened to cancel their entire existence faster than you can say ratings disaster. Think of it as a roast so spicy even Mickey Mouse might need a fire extinguisher. Why did Disney get so mad? And how did Gutfeld turn that threat into comedic gold? Stick around because this drama is juicier than a theme park turkey leg.
Disney, the owner of ABC News and daytime talk show The View, is now the subject of a new report claiming CEO Bob Iger is urging the show's host to tone down their criticism of President Donald Trump.
Always want us to be respectful and do the things and talk about the stuff we talk about. We can do all of that. But when you are blatantly giving the country the middle finger, that is blatant. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to take the plane.
Don't you think when he lets these white Africans in and claims that's giving the middle finger to the black community?
When Disney, the enchanted kingdom of talking animals and mouse-eared empires, decides to threaten cancellation, it's usually aimed at underperforming cartoons or a box office flop featuring a CGI raccoon with daddy issues. But this time, the fairy wand pointed squarely at the screeching hands of daytime television, The View.
Nothing. As if the show is some delightful chit-chat fest without the political talk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a lullaby and a shot of Dickel.
Yeah.
If they're not ripping on Trump. Here's Joy. She's going to share her feminine hygiene routine and tell you how to prevent your old tatas from going down and having a picnic with your belly button.
Yes, the once sacred circle of couch-bound pontificators finally pushed the envelope so hard it came flying back and slapped them across their collective Botoxed foreheads. The news hit like a rogue churro in Disneyland. The same corporate overlords, who practically gift-wrapped PR immunity to The View hosts for years, suddenly got cold feet. Apparently, watching 5 professionally outraged women argue over which celebrity should be canceled next isn't bringing in the ratings magic anymore.
That's like a cross between The View and Hee Haw. Except hoo-ha. Wow, that is pretty good, isn't it? It's hee-haw meets hoo-ha. I don't know. Michelle, you okay, Michelle? At least somebody got it, even when I was thinking, and I go, does that make any sense?
Yes, it made perfect sense.
Who knew a daily screen fest over teacups might not be the crown jewel of a multi-billion-dollar media empire? And right on cue, in strolls Greg Gutfeld, Fox News' resident prankster, whose entire career seems to be built on roast sessions. With the precision of a Gordon Ramsay meltdown, only with more sarcasm and fewer cooking metaphors. Gutfeld took one look at Disney's veiled threat and transformed it into an open invitation to torch The View like it was the Hindenburg of daytime. Television, bloated, flaming, and full of hot air.
Lighten up, and this is what they did on the Qatar jet, or Qatar jet.
The United States has accepted the plane. Is going to cost...
He has accepted the plane. The United States has not accepted the plane.
He representing the government.
He's not representing us.
He's the government. Why does he want it, do you think? Because he's the king?
Because
he wants to go around the world like the king?
It goes to him and his presidential library, so it becomes his plane.
But we all know that that's BS, okay? No. He's not giving that to his presidential library. He's going to take it, he's going to fly and use it. But he's not supposed to have it. I got the Constitution right here. He's not supposed to have the plane. Okay?
All right, my point, Michelle. If you take that away from them, I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
Like it's like what Dagan said. There isn't anything else.
He didn't need to say it directly. Of course, the magic of Gutfeld's mockery lies in implication, inference, and a level of side-eye so intense it probably requires a sunscreen warning. He practically gift-wrapped the moment with glittering. Disdain, lifting the curtain on a show that has long stopped pretending to be anything other than a televised group chat with delusions of grandeur. Let's be honest, The View has always prided itself on being the voice of women. As long as those women think in lockstep, hate the right politicians, and enjoy the sound of their own moral superiority echoing through the ABC studio. Watching. The View is like being stuck in a group therapy session where nobody listens, everyone talks over each other, and the therapists quit halfway through to join a reality show. So what exactly triggered the House of Mouse? Well, after years of enabling the show's descent into a smug echo chamber of reheated talking points and secondhand Twitter outrage, Disney execs finally realized something groundbreaking. Screaming doesn't equal substance. Viewership wasn't just slipping, it was plunging faster than the plot logic in a Marvel Phase 4 movie. When your core audience consists of people who accidentally leave the TV on after morning cartoons, you've got a problem.
I love what you said about wanting to entertain audiences, critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means, and one could argue that sometimes it's used too liberally. That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is...
Gutfeld, never one to miss the opportunity to jab at flailing liberal media, pounced. He sketched The View as the Roman Colosseum of daytime programming, except instead of gladiators, it's overpaid hosts tossing passive-aggressive shade and Instagram platitudes at each other, and instead of cheering crowds, there's just a polite coughing sound from America, slowly dying of secondhand embarrassment. He didn't stop at the structure either. Gutfeld went for the cast like a sarcasm-fueled wrecking ball. Each host served as a living, breathing stereotype, neatly packaged with all the nuance of a discount Halloween costume. There's always the self-declared intellectual who thinks using big words counts as being right, the perpetual victim whose entire contribution boils down to facial expressions and moral indignation. The former celebrity who wandered in from another timeline, contributing nothing but confused stares and outdated anecdotes. And then there's the host who tries to play centrist but folds faster than a paper straw in a venti latte. Disney's sudden threat to cancel The View felt less like corporate overreach and more like a long-overdue mercy killing. Even the executives who approved Pirates of the Caribbean 6 could see that something needed to change. And in that fragile moment of crisis, Gutfeld walked in like the ghost of common sense past, ready to remind the world that sometimes mockery is the sincerest form of quality control.
What it reminds me of, Joey, is that it is a microcosm of the Democrat Party. If you look at The View, it's tightly wound and miserable, largely female, hallucinating and angry. Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Because let's be real, The View has become a parody of itself, a weekly parade of performative outrage dressed up as empowerment. Every episode is a masterclass in how not to discuss anything meaningful. It's like watching 5 Yelp reviews argue about politics while forgetting the name of the restaurant. While Gutfeld roasted from afar, you could practically hear the creaking gears at ABC trying to spin the PR machine. But there was no defending it this time. Not when even Mickey Mouse was side-eyeing the morning slot. You can only mask the ratings cliff for so long before someone grabs a telescope and notices the fall. Of course, The View isn't just a show, it's a brand, one that once had the audacity to think it shaped national conversations. Now it barely shapes lunch break chatter. The same talking points recycled with the enthusiasm of a tax audit, the same artificial debates timed to commercial. Breaks like they're speed dating with opinions. Gutfeld didn't merely mock the show, he autopsied it in real time. He held up the cultural mirror and pointed to the smudges of irrelevance, hypocrisy, and delusion caked across its face. And in doing so, he exposed what everyone was thinking but too polite to say. The View is less a show and more a self-sustaining feedback loop of exhausted outrage. The irony? For a panel so obsessed with holding others accountable, it's utterly incapable of introspection. The kind of environment where every discussion feels less like a conversation and more like a contest to see who can cry offended first. A circus of contradictions, all underwritten by the very media empire now threatening to shut the whole thing down.
It's about the view. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk.
And let's not pretend this is about politics. It's about performance. The View doesn't inform. It emotes. It doesn't debate. It declares. It's not a news panel. It's a midday seance where facts go to die and feelings get all the airtime. Gutfeld didn't need to fabricate a single detail. The spectacle speaks for itself. What truly made his mockery land with surgical precision was how little effort it took. He didn't need a monologue. Just point, raise an eyebrow, and boom, roast it. Because when a show becomes so predictably absurd, the mere act of describing it feels like satire. And let's not ignore the elephant in the studio, the ratings. Declining faster than a TikTok trend post-scandal, audiences have choices now, and they're choosing literally anything else. It's hard to compete with streaming platforms, podcasts, or even staring at a blank wall when your format is stuck in 2009. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's brand of humor-first commentary continues to pull in viewers who are allergic to sanctimony. There's a lesson in that. People want smart. They want funny. They want sharp takes, not shrill rants that feel like a group chat nobody asked to join. And still, The View trudges on, unaware that it has become the very caricature it used to mock. A bloated panel of overtalkers trying to outrage each other, each convinced their opinion is a moral compass for the nation. Except now the compass is spinning, the map is outdated, and the audience has wandered off.
You know, how can you now speak the truth and when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest scum.
As Disney weighs its options, The View finds itself dangling by a thread that's been fraying for years. And Greg Gutfeld, he's just the guy holding the scissors, laughing and reminding everyone that the emperor's new clothes are made entirely of recycled hashtags. In the end, the most brutal roast wasn't a punchline. It was a spotlight, one that revealed the sagging foundation of a show too proud to pivot and too lost to evolve. The View isn't controversial. It's comical. And as Gutfeld proved, sometimes all it takes to bring down a paper tiger is a well-aimed joke and the patience to let it implode on its own. So if this is indeed the final season of The View, let it be remembered not as a cultural force, but as a cautionary tale of what happens when smugness replaces substance and groupthink masquerades as insight. And somewhere in a Fox News studio, Greg Gutfeld is probably raising a glass, not in victory, but in disbelief that it took Disney this long to catch on. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't just a roast, it was a requiem, not for television, but for a show that thought screaming louder made you smarter. And as the credits roll, the silence might just be the most insightful moment The View has ever produced. And just like that, we zoom out from The View's meltdown and pan across the smoldering wreckage of the entire liberal media landscape, where self-importance goes to die and common sense checks itself out like it just saw Joy Behar's monologue.
An anti-aging drug for dogs has moved closer to gaining FDA approval. Customers are already waiting in line. No, it's nothing personal. We just saved money using the same picture 3 times.
Disney's threat to cancel The View wasn't just an internal memo gone rogue. It was the media equivalent of a meteor hurtling toward the dinosaur nest. And yes, The View is the screechiest velociraptor in the pen. Because here's the thing. The View is not an outlier. It's the poster child of a genre that thinks groupthink is brave, sanctimony is compelling television, and shouting louder than everyone else somehow equals moral authority. This is the same ecosystem where credibility is awarded for how offended you look when someone says free speech, and where every disagreement is framed like it's the moral sequel to World War II. Spoiler, it's not. What we're seeing. With The View as merely the sneeze before the media's full-blown existential flu. These legacy liberal outlets have been lurching toward irrelevance for years, all while clutching their pearls and calling it progress. But eventually, even the loudest echo chamber starts to collapse in on itself when there's no one left listening. Audiences are no longer content to be lectured by a rotating panel of millionaires cosplaying as oppressed activists, especially when their idea of courage is agreeing with each other in slightly different tones.
Jackal, if you hate Kamala's cackle, according to The View's moo-moo-wearing mascot, Joy Behar, men are sexist if they're not a fan of Kamala's laugh, or funny women in general, especially if they're in bed. Roll it.
What really ticks me off about him, though, is this laughing Kamala remark. It's such a sexist remark because a guy I was with over the weekend, a friend of mine, they said Kamala's laugh annoys me. Remember they said that about Hillary's laugh, that she was cackling. And men, you know, they don't like a funny woman. They're afraid if you laugh or you make a joke that maybe you'll do that when they're in bed with you.
Oh, my
Joy Behar in bed? Ooh. I thought cows slept standing up.
And the numbers don't lie. Ratings have been nosediving like The View just found out the teleprompter stopped working. Audiences are turning away from shows that offer all the nuance of a brick through a window. Because guess what? People can smell pandering a mile away. And it stinks worse than a Whoopi Goldberg hot take on a Monday morning. Meanwhile, on the other side of the media battlefield, people like Greg Gutfeld are laughing all the way to the ratings chart. Not because he's reinventing the wheel, but because he remembered the wheel works. Humor, satire, and, brace yourself, actually reflecting what audiences are thinking instead of scolding them for it. Revolutionary, apparently. What makes this even more poetic is the fact that liberal media, once so smug in its cultural dominance, is now begging viewers not to change the channel while hemorrhaging credibility. And for years they thought cancel culture was a one-way weapon. Oops. Turns out when the corporate suits start canceling you, it feels a whole lot different, doesn't it? Which brings us to the final chapter in this reality TV gone wrong saga, the impending fate of The View.
I actually thought that was a nice break from the normal chatter. Right? Did you notice how the audience they couldn't tell the difference? Because generally it is a screaming match, and so you have the audience basically joining in. That stuff, it has a reverse effect. Like, it's making me more militant in my adherence to fossil fuels and to red meat. It's like I see that, I go, well, I'm gonna just start eating a raw ribeye while driving a tractor trailer up a mountain of coal. Just like this, the whole time. I'm not stopping, I'm coming for you, View. But you're right. It's all, it's actually not right versus left. That's left versus left.
Yes.
Disney's threat might not be a done deal yet, but it's a massive warning flare that even the most insulated bastions of ideological fluff are not immune to extinction. The show will either have to dramatically reinvent itself, which, let's be honest, would require every co-host to develop a sense of self-awareness, and that's not covered by their health plan, or it'll wither away into irrelevance like a TikTok trend your mom just discovered. Because really, what else can they do? They've tried the moral outrage route. They've tried the faux intellectual armchair activism. They've even tried rebranding yelling as dialogue. But in the end, all that's left is the yelling. The increasingly desperate, ratings-chasing, arm-flailing yelling of a show that once thought it could never be touched. But hey, who knows? Maybe if they yell loud enough, they'll convince someone they're still relevant. Or at the very least, drown out the sound of their audience quietly.